Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Thursday, March 4th, 2021. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's college basketball, NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball spring training games and look ahead to today's games in each sport. Then we'll talk about the Arnold Palmer Invitational. We'll go over the latest news and notes and my best bet of the day. We're going to start in college basketball like we've been doing a lot of late. It's March, so we will go over everything from yesterday and look ahead to today's games. Atlantic 10 first round St. Joe's over LaSalle 72-66. Atlantic 10 first round George Washington over Fordham 53-49. Wagner over Merrimack 64-59. Syracuse over Clemson 64-54. Wichita State over Tulane 78-70. So best bet comes through. UConn over Seton Hall 69-58. Missouri over Florida 72-70. Boston University over Lehigh 69-58 in the Patriot League first round. Oregon State over Utah 75-70. Florida A&M over NC Central 65-58. St. John's over Providence 81-67. NC State over Notre Dame 80-69. Penn State over Minnesota 84-65. Houston State over Texas A&M Corpus Christi 81-61. Or 84-61, I should say. Louisiana Tech over Our Lady 99-66. Colorado State over New Mexico 87-73. Belmont over SIU Edwardsville 78-61 in the OVC quarterfinal. New Orleans over Northwestern State 92-83. Houston Baptist over Incarnate Word 72-67. Central Arkansas over Southeast Louisiana 88-71. Villanova over Creighton 72-60. Mississippi State over Texas A&M 63-57. Florida State over Boston College 93-64. I should say number 11 Florida State, and then 10 Nova over 14 Creighton. Number 19, San Diego State over UNLV, 71-62. Oregon over UCLA, 82-74. Northwestern over Maryland, 60-55. Abilene Christian over Stephen F. Austin, 63-61. Idaho State over Eastern Washington, 68-63. USC over Stanford, 79-42. And OVC quarterfinal, Morehead State over Southeast Missouri State, 61-54. Now we'll look ahead to today's games at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time on the NBCSN. A-10 second round, Duquesne and Richmond. I'm at Richmond 5.5, total 139.5. I only did totals for the conference tournament games. And the lines for this game are Richmond 5, total 141.5. I have no choice but to go on the under. It's a 2-point edge, so I'll go under 141.5 between Duquesne and Richmond. Northeastern State and Tulsa at 1 o'clock, we can skip. Atlantic 10 second round, 1 o'clock NBCSN, St. Joe's UMass. I'm at UMass 8.5. Total 151. And it is UMass 3, total 151.5. I have to lay with UMass. It's going to go potentially to 3.5, but even at 3.5, it's a 5-point edge. So I'm going to lay it with UMass. 2 o'clock A-Sun quarterfinal, Kennesaw State and Liberty. I'm at Liberty 22.5, total 135. And it's 17.5, 130.5. I'm going to go with Liberty minus the points. I have a bigger edge on Liberty, plus more values on Liberty. So I'm going to lay the 17.5 with Liberty. A-Sun quarterfinal, North Alabama and North Florida. I'm at North Alabama 1.5, total 141.5. Meanwhile, it's North Florida by 3, total 143.5. I'm taking North Alabama plus a 3. And whatever the money line is, probably something like plus 125, plus 130, or something like that. 3 o'clock, Morgan State, Delaware State. I am at Morgan State by 9, and it's 11. So I'm taking Delaware State plus the 11. Next up is Rhode Island, Dayton, A-10 second round. I'm at Dayton 6.5, total 140. Meanwhile, it's Dayton 4.5, total 137. I am going to go with, this is tough, over 137. I don't feel strong about it, though. And that's at 3:30 on NBCSN. 4 o'clock, St. Peter's and Quinnipiac. I'm at St. Peter's 8, and we don't have a line out yet. Monmouth Rider, we don't have a line out yet, but I project Monmouth 12.5. 8:10, second round, 5:30, NBCSN, George Washington, George Mason. I'm at Mason by 7. And I don't see any lines out for this on FanDuel yet. But ESPN has it Mason 6.5. If the total lands anything below 140.5, I'll take the over. And if it lands anything above 142.5, I'm taking the under. 6 o'clock, Campbell Radford in the Big South semifinal. I'm at Campbell 2, total 134. Meanwhile, it's Radford 1.5, total 126.5. I love the over. That is way too low. Middle Tennessee and FAU. I'm at FAU 6.5, and it's 8.5. I'm taking Middle 10 in the points. MVC first round, Southern Illinois and Bradley. I'm at Bradley 3, total 134. Meanwhile, it is Southern Illinois 2, total 129.5. I'm taking Bradley in the 2 and plus 120 straight up. Fairfield, Manhattan, I'm at Fairfield by 4. And it's Manhattan by 4. I'm taking Fairfield in the 4 and plus 176 straight up. Big game, 7 o'clock ESPN. Michigan State at number 2, Michigan. I am at Michigan 9, and it is Michigan 12. I'm taking Sparty in the 12. ESPN 2, number 17, Oklahoma State at number 3, Baylor. I am at Baylor 7.5, and it's 12. I'm taking Oklahoma State plus the 12. TCU, West Virginia. I'm at West Virginia 9.5, and it is 13. I'm taking TCU plus the 13 at minus 116. Number 6, West Virginia, I should have said. Iowa State at number 18, Texas Tech. I'm at Tech 16.5, and it is Tech 17.5. Total is 136.5, and I'm going to take the over. Vanderbilt, Cincinnati. I'm at Cincinnati 7.5, and it's 6.5. Total is 146.5. I'm taking the under. Canisius and Siena. I'm at Siena 7.5. And it's 6. Total's 139.5. I'm taking the over. Florida A&M and NC Central. Again, I'm at A&M 2.5. And I don't see a line out yet for this game. Stetson Bellarmine, ASUN quarterfinal. I'm at Bellarmine 3.5. Total 141.5. Meanwhile, it's 6 and 142. I'm taking Stetson plus the 6. Florida Gulf Coast, Lipscomb, ASUN quarterfinal. I'm at Lipscomb 5, total 138. Meanwhile, it's 5.5, 138.5, or 139.5. So my projections are very close. A half point off and then 1.5 point off, so I wouldn't bet it, but I would go under 139.5 for the podcast sake. 7:30, Nichols McNeese. I'm at Nichols 16.5, and it is 5.5. I'm going to lay to 5.5 with Nichols. Big South semifinal, Longwood Winthrop. I'm at Winthrop 19, total 140. Meanwhile, it's 12.5, 141. I'm going to lay to 12.5 with Winthrop. 8 o'clock, UTEP at number 13, Kansas. I'm at Kansas 16, and it's 17, totals 135. I'm taking the over at minus 106. OVC quarterfinal, Murray State and Jacksonville State. I'm at Jacksonville State 2.5, total 140.5. Meanwhile, it's Murray State 2.5, total 139.5. I'm going to take Jacksonville State plus a 2.5 and plus 106 on the money line. 8:30, Southern and Prairie View. I'm at Prairie View by 3. and it's 6.5. I'm taking Southern plus the 6.5. Alcorn State, Texas Southern. I'm at Texas Southern 9.5, and it's 12. I'm taking Alcorn. Alabama State, Grambling. I'm at Grambling 10.5, and it's 8. I'm laying the 8 with Grambling. Alabama, A&M, and Jackson State. I'm at Jackson State 10.5, and it's 9. Total's 126. I'm taking the over. That's very low. 9 o'clock, Nebraska at number 5, Iowa. I'm at Iowa 19.5, and it is 16.5. I'm going to lay to 16.5 at Iowa. ESPN, number 15, Texas, and number 16, Oklahoma. Arguably the best game of the night. I'm at Texas 1, and it is Oklahoma 2. I'm taking Texas plus the 2 and plus 116 straight up. ESPN 2, Arizona State at number 24, Colorado. I'm at Colorado by 4.5. And it's 10. I'm taking Arizona State plus the 10 to cover. San Diego and San Francisco in the WCC first round. I am at San Francisco 3.5, total 141.5. Meanwhile, it is 8.5, 143.5. I am taking San Diego plus the 8.5 at minus 106. MVC first round, Illinois State at Northern Iowa. I'm at Northern Iowa by 8.5, total 141.5. Meanwhile, it is 6.5, 141.5. I'm going to lay to 6.5 with Northern Iowa. UCF and East Carolina on ESPNU. I'm at UCF 2.5. And it is 3. Totals 134.5. I'm going to take the under, but I don't feel good about it. Northern Colorado at Weber State. I'm at Weber State by 3.5. And it's 10. I'm taking Northern Colorado plus the 10 at minus 106. 9:30 Fox Sports 1, Wyoming and Utah State. I'm at Utah State 11. And it's 16.5. I'm taking Wyoming plus the 16.5 at minus 116. 10 o'clock, Southern Utah at Portland State. I'm at Southern Utah by 10, and it's 2. I'm laying the 2 with Southern Utah at minus 116. 10:30, OVC quarterfinal, Austin P. Eastern Kentucky. I'm at Eastern Kentucky by 6.5, totals 151. And it's 2 and 155.5. I'm going to lay the 2 with Eastern Kentucky against Austin P. And at midnight Eastern tonight, Portland, Santa Clara. I'm at Santa Clara 13, total 143. Meanwhile, it's 13.5, total 144.5. Very close numbers. But for the podcast sake, I'll go under 144.5. All right, there you have it for the college basketball for tonight. Now we'll move on to the NBA. We'll look back on yesterday's games and look ahead to today's slate. And by the way, it is the last slate before the All-Star break tonight. So, without further ado, here we go. Pacers over to Cavs 114-111. Pacers 16-18, Cavs 14-22. Malcolm Brogdon had 29 for Indiana. Colin Sexton 32 with 10 assists for Cleveland. 76ers over to Jazz 131-123 in overtime. Jazz 24-12, Utah 27-9. Joel Embiid 40 points and 19 boards. Embiid had the game tying 3 to force overtime pretty much. Donovan Mitchell at 33 with 6 assists for Utah. Pistons over the Raptors 129-105. Detroit 10-25. Toronto 17-18. Wayne Ellington had 25 for Detroit. Devin Smith Jr. had a triple-double too. Norman Powell at 36 for Toronto. Nets over the Rockets 132-114. And the return of James Harden. Brooklyn 24-13. Houston 11-23. James Harden at 29 with 10 boards and 14 assists in his return. John Wall at 36 with 5 assists for Houston. Hawks over the Magic 131-112. The Hawks are 16-20. Orlando is 13-23. Trae Young had 32 points and 8 assists. Nikola Vucevic had 29 with 9 boards. Hornets over the Timberwolves 135-102. This was the other game I was continuing for best bet. Charlotte 17-18. Minnesota 7-29. Terry Rozier had 31 points. And Ricky Rubio had 20 with 9 assists. Bulls over the Pelicans, 128-124. The Bulls 16-18. New Orleans 15-20. Zach LaVine had 36 points and 8 assists. Zion had 28 with 9 boards. Mavs over the Thunder, 87-78. No Luka Doncic in this game with the back issue. Dallas 18-16. Oklahoma City 14-21. Kristaps Porzingis had 19 points and 13 boards. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 15 with 3 assists. Blazers over the Warriors 108-106 with the go-ahead 3 by Damian Lillard as the game winner with 13.7 seconds left. Portland 20-14. Golden State 19-17. Damian Lillard had 22 points and 6 assists. Stephen Curry had 35 for Golden State. Kings over the Lakers, 123-120. Kings 14-21. Lakers 24-13. Buddy Hield had 29 for Sacramento. Dennis Schroeder had 28 and 9 assists for the Lakers. Now we will look ahead to the games for tonight, the last set of games before the All-Star break. All right, so 7 o'clock you have the Raptors and the Celtics. I'm at Boston 10, total 222.5. Meanwhile, it is Boston 8. We don't have a lot of totals out yet, so I'm going to lay to 8 with Boston. Clippers Wizards, I'm at Clippers 11.5, total 229. Meanwhile, it is Clippers 5.5. That's really, really low. Somebody must be injured. I have to make sure to see if Kawhi is back for this game. Kawhi Leonard obviously missed the Boston game. Somebody must be injured. So Kawhi Leonard at the moment is questionable. But if Kawhi doesn't play, my projected line goes from 11.5 to 6.5. So I'm going to lay it at the moment. But let's say Kawhi misses the game, and I have no value to lay the points or to take the points. I'd bet the over if it's anything lower than 227.5, and I'd bet the under if it's anything higher than 230.5. Pistons Knicks, I'm at Knicks 8.5, total 214.5. Meanwhile, Knicks 5. I'm going to lay the 5 with the Knicks. That game's at 7:30. 8 o'clock Nuggets Pacers, I'm at Nuggets 9.5, total 226. Meanwhile, it's Nuggets 4. I'm going to lay the 4 at Denver. Bucks Grizzlies, I'm at Bucks 7, total 227. Meanwhile, it's Bucks 6, total 234.5. I'm taking the under. That is way too high. Every Bucks total has been overinflated of late. 8:30 TNT Heat Pelicans, the last nationally televised game before the All-Star break. I'm at Miami 4.5, total 224. Meanwhile, it's New Orleans 2.5, total 227. I'm taking Miami plus the 2.5, plus 120 straight up. Miami is under a ton of pressure. I know New Orleans is too. New Orleans is on the second of a back-to-back as well. So give me the Heat plus 2.5 and plus 120 straight up. Thunder Spurs at 9 o'clock. I'm at San Antonio 6.5, total 220. Meanwhile, it's 6.5. We don't have a total yet. If it's anything higher than 221.5, I'm taking the under. If it's anything lower than 18.5, I'm taking the over. Kings Blazers at 10 o'clock. I am at Portland 4.5, total 232. Meanwhile, it is Portland 4, total 238. I'm taking the under. I don't feel good about it. Still no CJ or Nurkic for the Blazers. And no Tyrese Halliburton for the Kings as well. So I'm going to go under 238. And last but not least, Warriors Suns, great game. I'm at Phoenix 6, total 223.5. It's Phoenix 6, so we don't have a total yet. If it's anything higher than 225, I'm taking the under. If it's anything lower than 222, I'm going to take the over. Alrighty, so there's your NBA for today. And now we will go over the NHL results from yesterday and look ahead to the games for tonight. Capitals over the Bruins 2-1 the shootout. The Caps 13-5-4. Boston 12-5-3. The number 3 started the game with 18 saves on 19 shots. Vitek Vanecek, number 2, started the game with 27 saves on 28 shots. Tuukka Rask, and the number 1 started the game. Didn't have a point, but just played well. Alex Ovechkin. And by the way, the shootout winner was by Jacob Vrana. Maple Leafs over the Oilers 6-1. Toronto 18-4-2. Edmonton 14-11. The number 3 started the game with 3 assists, Jason Spezza. The number 2 started the game with the goal and assist, Zach Hyman. Number 1 started the game with 2 goals, Jimmy Vesey. Blues over the Ducks 3-2. The Blues 13-8-2. Ducks 6-12-5. Number 3 started the game, didn't have a point, Ryan O'Reilly. Number 2 started the game with the goal, Ricard Raquel. And the number 1 started the game with the goal, Zach Sanford. Golden Knights over the Wild 5-1. The Golden Knights 14-4-1. Wild 12-7-1. The number 3 started the game with a goal and assist, Chandler Stevenson. Number 2 started the game with 36 saves on 37 shots, Marc-Andre Fleury. And the number 1 started the game with the goal and assist, Alex Tuch. Coyotes over the Kings 3-2. The Coyotes 10-9-3. LA 9-8-4. The number 3 started the game with assist, Jacob Chiron. The number 2 started the game with the goal, Drew Doughty. Number 1 started the game with 40 saves on 42 shots, Antti Ranta. Avs over the Sharks 4-0. The Avs 12-7-1. San Jose 8-10-2. The number 3 started the game with 26 saves on 26 shots. Philip Gaubauer. Number 2 started the game with a goal and 3 assists. Gabriel Landeskog. And the number 1 started the game with 2 goals and 2 assists. Mikko Rantanen. Now tonight's window, which is obviously pretty big. 7 o'clock tonight, you have the Rangers and the Devils from the Rock. The Rangers are minus 118 favorites. The Devils are even money. Over under 5.5. Over is minus 118. The under is minus 104. The Rangers minus 1.5 is plus 220. Devils plus 1.5 is minus 275. I'm going to go with the Devils straight up at even money. They are 2-0 against the Rangers this year. The Devils had that big third period against the Rangers about a week and a half ago. And then Mackenzie Blackwood played out of his mind in their other game against the Rangers. And they match up well with them. So I'm going to give me the Devils at even money against New York Rangers. Red Wings Hurricanes. I'm at on FanDuel minus 340 for Carolina, plus 275 for Detroit. Over under 5.5. Over is minus 122. Under is even money. Detroit plus 1.5 is minus 102. Carolina minus 1.5 is minus 118. I'm going to lay to minus 118 with the Hurricanes. I just think they're so much better than the Red Wings. And the Hurricanes are playing well right now. So give me the Hurricanes at minus 118. And minus 1.5, or vice versa that. Flyers, Penguins. The Flyers are minus 126. Pittsburgh's plus 108. Over under 6.5. Overs even money. Unders minus 122. Flyers minus 1.5 is plus 195. Penguins plus 1.5 is minus 240. I'm going to go over 6.5. These two teams went over the same number the other day without Sidney Crosby. I think there's a chance they do it again. I'm going for the value, so I'm going over 6.5 at even money. Jets, Canadians. The Jets are plus 128. Montreal's minus 152. Over under 5.5. Over is minus 128. Under's plus 104. Jets plus 1.5 is minus 205. Canadians minus 1.5 is plus 168. This is my upset pick of the day. I'm going with the Winnipeg Jets straight up at plus 128. I just don't love how Montreal's played of late. I know they have the new coach there now, but it's just a gut feeling. I'm going to go with Winnipeg with the value at plus 128. Sabres, Islanders. The Isles are minus 200. Buffalo's plus 168. Over under 5.5. Overs plus 128. Unders minus 158. Islanders minus 1.5 is plus 138. Sabres plus 1.5 is minus 166. I know Buffalo was competitive with the Rangers the other night, but I could see this being a blowout. I'm going to lay to 1.5 with the Islanders at plus 138. 8 o'clock, Lightning, Blackhawks. I don't see any lines for this game yet. But on ESPN, it is Tampa minus 215. The Blackhawks would be a pretty good underdog. They would be like plus 175, plus 180. I'm going to go with the Blackhawks, whatever they are, straight up against the Lightning. Because I think that the Blackhawks have been decent this year. So getting a team that's 12-7-4 at nearly 2-1 would be pretty good. Panthers Predators. The Panthers minus 146. The Preds are plus 124. Over under 5.5. So over is minus 114. Under is minus 105. Panthers minus 1.5 is plus 195. Preds plus 1.5 is minus 240. I'm going to go under 5.5 at minus 105. Florida's goaltending has been solid. And I think that the Preds offense has not been that solid. So give me under 5.5 at minus 105. 8:30 Blue Jackets Stars. The Blue Jackets are plus 130 dogs. Dallas is minus 154 favorites. Over under 5.5. Overs plus 118. Unders minus 144. Dallas minus 1.5 is plus 168. Columbus plus 1.5 is minus 205. I'm going to go over 5.5 at plus 118. I think that the over on the plus value at 5.5 is pretty good. All it takes is a 3-2 game and the last goal being an empty netter. 9 o'clock, the Senators and the Flames. The Flames are minus 210. The Sens are plus 176. Over under 5.5. Over is minus 130. Under is plus 106. The Sens plus 1.5 is minus 146. The Ottawa Senators minus 1.5 is plus 122. I'm going to lay or it's the other way around. The Sens plus 1.5 is minus 146. The Flames plus 1 or minus 1.5 is plus 122. I'm going to lay the puck and a half with the Flames. Just trying for value here. All it takes is an empty netter to put the game away. So I'm going to go the Flames minus 1.5 is plus 122. I think this could play out similar to the Montreal game from the other night. And last but not least, Maple Leafs, Canucks. The Maple Leafs are minus 162. The Canucks are plus 136. Over under 6.5. Over is minus 122. Unders even money. Maple Leafs minus 1.5 is plus 164. Canucks plus 1.5 is minus 200. I'm going to go under at even money. I think it could be Thatcher Demko tonight for Vancouver. And maybe I think it could be Hutchinson tonight for Toronto. Let me just double check here. Yeah, I think it's going to be Hutchinson tonight. And it's the second of a back-to-back, so I could see Toronto being tired. So we'll go under 6.5 at even money in that game. Now I'm going to go over Major League Baseball spring training results. And we will look ahead to the slate of games for today. Orioles over the Braves 8-1 and 7. Wade LeBlanc the win, Luke Jackson the loss, and Ashton Goudeau the save. DJ Stewart and Ozzie Albies homered as well as Austin Hayes. Red Sox over the Twins 14-6 and 7. Nick Pivetta to win, Alex Colomb the loss, homers Mitch Garber. Bobby Dalbec homered for Boston twice. Nelson Cruz homered for Minnesota. Marlins over the Nationals 8-5. Alicia Hernandez the win, Eric Feed the loss, and Cody Patet the save. Adam Duvall homered, Kyle Schwarber homered, Josh Bell homered. Cardinals over the Mets 14-9. Getting the win was Thomas Parsons, and the loss, Jacob Barnes. The Phils over the Tigers 4-2 and 7. Avon over to win, Buck Farmer the loss, and David Parkinson the save. Rays over the Pirates 3-1 and 6. Josh Fleming the win. Miguel Yajuri the loss, and Joey Krebel the save. Wander Franco and Austin Meadows both homered for Tampa. Diamondbacks over the Indians 9-4 and 7. Luke Weaver to win, Zach Plesac the loss. Homers, Christian Walker, Franmil Reyes of the notables. Royals over the White Sox 6-5 and 6. Richard Lovelady to win. Bennett Sousa the loss, and Scott Barlow the save, his second of spring training. Zach Collins, the young catching prospect, homered for the White Sox in this game. Mariners and Cubs ended in an 8-8 tie. Homers Jock Peterson, who I think will be a good addition for the Cubs, by the way. Jared Kelenic, the hot prospect, Taylor Trammell, Anthony Rizzo were the homers for both sides, respectively. Brewers over the Padres 8-5-8. Zach Brown the win. James Reeves the loss, and Miguel Sanchez the save. There were some homers in this game, but nobody of significance. Rocks over the Athletics 10-7-7. Getting the win was Justin Lawrence. Homers in this game. Tapia of the Rockies. Ramon Tapia. Angels over the Rangers 6-2-6. Getting the win was Mike Mayers. The loss was Drew Anderson. And getting the save was Thomas Pannone. Nobody of significance homered other than Shohei Ohtani. Yanks over the Blue Jays 4-1-7. Luis Cessa the win. Nick Gallagher the loss, and Kyle Baraclough the save. Homers in this game. Gary Sanchez and Derek Dietrich and Robinson Chirinos. So, obviously, Dietrich and Chirinos are trying to make the team, and we know that Sanchez is the starting catcher. He's off to a good start in spring training so far with a couple homers. And last but not least, the Dodgers and the Reds ended in a 4-4 tie. Nobody of significance homered in that game. Today's games, you have the Yanks and the Phillies. The Nats and the Mets on ESPN. The Braves and the Phillies. Red Sox, Orioles, Rays, Twins. Blue Jays, Tigers. 3 o'clock, White Sox, Giants. Padres, Rangers, Angels, Diamondbacks. Indians, Brewers, Rockies, Mariners, Cards, Astros at 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, Cubs, Dodgers, and Royals, Reds. Now I'm going to talk about the Arnold Palmer Invitational in golf. So, without further ado, here we go with the Arnold Palmer Invitational. In first right now with 3 under, Jason Kokrak. Tied for second with 2 under, Luke List, Adam Putnam, Martin Leard, and Kai-Hoon Lee. And Cam Triangle's in there too. Tied for 6th with 1 under, Luke List just went down. Rory McIlroy, Lucas Griffin, Jordan Spieth, Bryson DeChambeau, Dylan McCarthy, Cameron Percy, Danny Willett, Brock Stewart, and Robbie Shelton. Now I'm just going to go through notables. Even, Harnold Varner III, Henrik Norlander, Brendan Steele. Tied for 31st with 1 over, Justin Rose, Tyrell Hatton, Tyler Duncan, Chris Kirk, Tommy Fleetwood, Matt Wallace. Tied for 46th, not 42nd, with 2 over, Taylor Gooch, Cam Champ, Adam Hadwin. In the tie for 56th with 3 over, Hideki Matsuyama, Mark Leishman. And then still to tee off, 1140, Doc Redman, Lucas Glover, Max Hubbard. 1151, Charles Schwartzel's in there. The 1202 window, Danny Lee, Lee Westwood. In the 1213 window, Kevin Kisner's in there, Paul Casey. In the 1224 window, Kevin Na, JT Pitson, Sebastian Munoz, Ian Poulter, Adam Long, Shane Lowry. In the 1235 window, Brendan Todd, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Dylan Fratelli. In the 1246 window, Brett Horschel, Zach Johnson, Patrick Reed, C.T. Pond. In the 1257 window, Victor Hovland, Jason Day, who's my pick, Ricky Fowler, Sungjae Im. In the 108 window, not many of note in there. And then you have Kevin Johnson in the 119 window. So there you have it for the Arnold Palmer Invitational for today. Now we'll go over the latest news and notes. Busy day yesterday in the world of sports. Aaron Boone is taking a leave of absence from the Yankees as he was receiving a pacemaker, and yesterday was a surgery, and word out was that he did very well, and he could be back with the team over the weekend. So let's hope that Aaron Boone gets well soon. Major League Baseball will hold a new annual Lou Gehrig Day on June 2nd to honor the former Yankees first baseman to raise awareness of ALS. I think that is pretty neat, and I think that Major League Baseball will do a good job raising the money. UFC is partnering with Draftkings, 5-year deal valued at $350 million, and making Draftkings UFC's first official sportsbook and daily fantasy partner in the United States. So that is pretty neat. There is a new hoops league to pay high school players, which is the Overtime Elite Pro Basketball League, and it will launch in September, and it will target top players ages 16 through 18 willing to forfeit eligibility. So I think that will help teams with draft and stuff in terms of these players doing this instead of going to school. Jim Boeheim ripped a reporter last night asking about a lineup change within the game, and he called out a reporter's height and credibility. Yikes. There was some beef in the Jazz-Sixers game last night with officiating, and Donovan Mitchell said it was effing ridiculous and it was getting out of hand. And then Joel Embiid was joking around on Twitter last night calling Donovan Mitchell a fool. And the response was, ha, 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 second time I get you teed up, LMAO. So you got to love Joel Embiid, who has to be considered the MVP favorite at the moment, ahead of LeBron. PJ Tucker and James Harden had a moment at the end of the game last night, which was pretty neat. And they had a nice embrace. And then the Rockets did a tribute for James Harden during the return for him in the Toyota Center. The Jeremy Lin situation I've yet to talk about on the podcast. He was playing a game for the Warriors G League team, and apparently he was called a something racist. And, he found it to be a little racist. And, but yeah, it is pretty much racist, that what he was called, because he was called coronavirus, which, it's going to be looked upon as racist. And, he wants to build awareness for Asian hate crimes, and he won't reveal who called him coronavirus in the middle of a game. And he had a powerful conversation on CNN about it. Damian Lillard opened up about struggling. He detailed his struggles after dealing with deaths of the family and friends over the last 18 months, and he goes, people have no idea. But yeah, Damian Lillard must be going through some stuff, and he really, I think, has played very well this year. To me, he has to be considered among, not MVP, front runners, but, top 10, considering what they've done without McCollum and Nurkic. But yeah, he's been awesome this year, and hopefully things get better for Damian Lillard. The New York Football Giants cut Golden Tate after 2 years with the team. He signed just a god-awful contract. I said it was a bad signing when they signed him, and the media made it out to be like the Odell Beckham Jr. replacement, but no, Odell Beckham Jr. is miles better than Golden Tate, and it's not close. And they cut him, and now will they sign a wide receiver in free agency? Will they go after Allen Robinson or Kenny Galladay, or will they look at the draft and try to go for whomever could be available between Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and Jamar Chase? I doubt they can get Chase or even Devontae Smith. I think they have a shot at Waddle. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in free agency, whether they save receiver for the draft or they sign somebody to replace Golden Tate. Jackie Bradley Jr. signs with the Brewers, 2 years, $24 million deal. He signed pretty late. I think that there's a chance he gets off to a slowish start and then picks things up. But luckily, he'll be with the team for spring training. He was sitting there for a while. A lot of thought was that he could have gone to the Mets. But yeah, Jackie Bradley Jr., at least they have a third outfielder to go with Lorenzo Cain and Christian Yelich in that outfield. Trevor Bauer talked about how close he was to sign with the Mets. And the agent came out and said that it was over, that he was going there. So something must have happened to swoo him to the Dodgers. Did the Dodgers just pay extra money? Did he want to be in LA? Maybe he thought he had a better chance to win with the Dodgers, which is a distinct possibility. So maybe that's what was the thing there. Rockets forward David Nwaba out 6+ weeks as he'll have wrist surgery and miss at least 6 weeks. David Nwaba, to me, isn't really worth much on that team. They're probably going to try to tank anyway. So, if you want to tank, this is the stuff that will get done. And speaking of the Rockets, there's something that came out regarding the Harden trade. And the Rockets nearly backed out of that Nets deal. And the Heat almost landed Harden. And it was very messy with the negotiations. And it was really, really interesting. And imagine Miami getting Harden. It would have been Harden, Butler, and Bam. And that would have been the favorite in the East if Harden went there. Well, the Nets are the favorites in the East because they acquired Harden. If Harden was on Philly, they would have been the favorites. But they would have had to give up Ben Simmons to do so. And what would have been the package would have been to Houston from the Heat. It probably would have been like Goran Dragic, 2 of 3 of Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, and Tyler Herro. I think it would have been Herro and either Robinson or Kendrick Nunn. Precious Ochura would have been in that trade probably as well. And then I would have said probably 5 future picks, including 2 pick swaps. I think that's what the deal would have been. And Tyler Herro would have been the prize of the deal. And the Rockets wanted Duncan Robinson, Tyler Herro, Precious Achua, Kendrick Nunn, a salary filler, maybe like an Olynyk type, 2 first-round picks, and 4 pick swaps. And the Heat refused and told the Rockets their final offer, and on December 21st, the Heat pulled out. So it was very close that Miami nearly landed him, and the Rockets could have potentially gotten all 3 of Robinson, Herro, and Nunn, and they could have gotten Precious. That would have been a nice package for them, but they got what they got in that Nets deal. And a couple picks, and I think that they could have done better. I think that the Heat package could have been more enticing. And that Ben Simmons, that obviously would have made the Rockets better. And that probably would have put the Rockets like where the Memphis Grizzlies are in the Western Conference, not close to the playoffs, or I should say not close to the playoffs, but not close to contending, but somewhat closer to the playoffs than they are right now. So that is really, really interesting that came out. The NFL announced that the Combine will be virtual and that 323 draft prospects have been invited to it. So that's interesting. So there's been this talk of Tua Tagovailoa versus Mac Jones, and Devontae Smith said he liked Mac Jones better. And Jalen Waddle likes Mac too. So that's very interesting. And this is not a good look for Tua Tagovailoa. If the Dolphins are reading this, are they thinking, we need to throw this guy in a bunch of picks at Houston so we can get Deshaun Watson? Because it looks pretty bad right now that Justin Herbert's obviously the guy with the brighter future than Tua. And Justin Herbert is better than every quarterback that was drafted in 2019, like Daniel Jones and Kyler Murray and all those guys. He's better than those guys. But Kyler versus Herbert, I think, is debatable, but I think Herbert has a chance to be better than Kyler Murray. I was way wrong about Herbert and probably way wrong about Tua too with his injury history and all that, but it's very interesting that the Bama stars are coming out and saying that Mac Jones is better than Tua Tagovailoa, so that's something to keep an eye on. The Seahawks, unhappy with the Russell Wilson drama and how the situation has unfolded. That has to be expected. The Las Vegas Raiders are shopping Trent Brown as they are potentially looking at the deal him. That's interesting. They're trying to clear up cap space. Maybe they want to go for Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. Although Mike Maycock came out and defended Derek Carr the other day. The Bills want to fix the head coach hiring as the rule change proposal would give bar job interviews until after conference title games and hiring after the Super Bowl. That came from Peter King. And the last thing that I want to talk about is that the Rising Stars rosters have been revealed for the NBA All-Stars. And they're not having a game. So, the rosters: LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Tyler Herro, DeAndre Hunter, Keldon Johnson, Ja Morant, Michael Porter Jr., Zion Williamson, James Wiseman, Precious Achiuwa, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Denny Avdija, RJ Barrett, Facundo Campazzo, Brandon Clark, LeGwen Stewart, Rui Hachimura, Theo Maledon, Michael Mulder. There you have it. So, and obviously Bleacher Report writes Williamson and Morant were the two biggest locks. Duh. So, that is the Rising Stars roster. A couple snubs. I think Emmanuel Quickley of the New York Knicks was a snub, who's been amazing for New York this year. Another guy that I thought could have been in is Obi Toppin of the New York Knicks, but he just hasn't gotten the playing time. So 2 New York Knicks players, I think, were snubbed. RJ Hampton has shown promise for Denver. He's not in there. And there's a couple other guys that, to me, especially rookies, that stood out. But yeah, I think this just proves that there's a lot of good year 1 and year 2 players. And year 2, obviously, I think, has the more talent with Zion and Morant and Barrett. Although there's some talent with the first year guys with Ball, Edwards, Halliburton, and Wiseman. So, yeah, there you have it, the Rising Star Games roster. Last but not least, my best bet of the day brought to you by FanDuel. I know we had a long news and notes segment today because there's just a lot of stuff to go over. And we got to touch on all of it. So, I'm undecided for best bet today. There's a couple that stood out to me. But the one that I'm going to go with today that really stood out to me was an over in the Big South tournament. Campbell Radford over 126.5 is ridiculously low. Both of these teams are better than that offensively. So I'm going to go over 126.5 between Campbell and Radford for my best bet of the day. There you have it for the show. We'll be back tomorrow recapping NBA, NHL, and college basketball, looking ahead to tomorrow's slate. And I'll predict the winners of the dunk contest, skills competition, three-point contest, and the All-Star game, as well as my All-Star game MVP pick. Arnold Palmer Invitational will go over the leaderboard. I'll pick the NASCAR races for the weekend as well, as obviously news and notes and best bet as well. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody, and keep an eye out for 5 podcasts coming out tonight to preview the following tournaments: the SoCon, the Sun Belt, the NEC, the CAA, and the Summit League, and potentially MEAC. I will go do that podcast tomorrow. So hope you guys have a great day, everybody.